is Al Laws and my wife Aisha Laws.
Hello.
From Advice for Life. Thank you, my family. Thank you for joining us. I know a lot of you are getting the notification right now. I see some of you signing in. This is an exciting time for us. As you know, that we come together and we discuss relationships every Tuesday evening at 8:30. Basically, what you are experiencing is that you will actually hear us talk and chat with our live Facebook Live family. We will be answering questions. We will trying to give you insights about relationship, and you also get an opportunity to actually hear us do our live radio program. And so tonight, actually, we have a guest, and that is my brother Nate. He is an integral part of Win Family Services. Nate, come on, jump in here. That he too close. I tell him, I'm gonna go to the other side. This is Nate. Nate's gonna be our curator today, meaning he's going to be the person who monitors your questions and your comments. And so our formats, those of you who have been with us before know our format is like this. I will usually answer a question in the beginning, usually because that question came up in another session and we didn't finish it. So we actually had some technical difficulties, which I really apologize for at the end of the last one. But we still wanted to finish answering that question. And so we'll spend some time answering that question. And once we answer that question, you still can comment. You can ask additional questions, but we won't get to those questions until after the first half of our radio program. So I'm going to answer this. Me and my wife are going to talk about, we're going to answer that question. I'm going to get Nate to see if he can pull it up, and we're going to read that. And then after we answer that question, we will pause and start our first half of our radio program. After we finish the first half of our radio program, we'll answer some more questions. We'll interact with you. This is our live chatting, getting to be with you, feeling you, helping you understand and feel that you're being listened to, or you're getting answers for your relationship questions. And then we will have to cut off this program and then go to our second half of our program, because Facebook Live only gives us 30 minutes. And so it takes us, we have to then go to a second showing. So you'll just come out of this particular session. We'll do another live broadcast, and you just cue in on us in that way. So thank you. Thank you for being here this evening. And Nate, I don't know, were you able to get that question for us?
Yes, I was.
Let them see your face while you doing it. Nate is so
Tracy Collins, you asked, where's the line between dying to self and finding a place to join someone who is trying to do something for themselves when they ask you to change, and honoring yourself and who God made you to be?
So what I got from that is that the question was really about, how far do you go? I mean, what's the line? I mean, how much do you give? You recognize that the person's trying to do something for themselves, but it may or may not feel like it's coinciding with what you're trying to do for yourself, and you're in relationship. And a lot of times when you're in those kind of situations and relationships, you're ready to give up. You know,
Right.
It doesn't feel good and comfortable. It feels awkward. It feels hopeless sometimes. And so when you're in that place, when you're in that space, you have this tendency to want to give up.
Right.
And so, of course, the God in you causes you to want to keep going. And then you start asking yourself the question, how long am I going to put up with this? How long should I deal with this? How long should I let this go on? And we started out creating some basic boundaries to say, look, if it's life, limb, or property, meaning if the person is beating on you, or the person is, stealing everything you have, including the food that you eat. I mean, if you don't feel safe, if you don't feel secure in that dynamic in a relationship, then those are the things that really are not up for negotiation.
Exactly.
Like, I don't tell people to negotiate with that. If you're being abused, whether it's physically, verbally, sexually. Now, verbal is a little interesting, because we would have to talk some more about that. But I know those others are very, very clear.
Right.
And I say, and I want to make this comment that, and I just read this article in Ebony, and they were talking about how there is this in our community, especially in the African American community, there's this kind of denial about the fact that these young women on a consistent basis, up to 60 to 70%, are being either molested in some way or raped,
Right.
and it's not talked about. And this is what is also not talked about, is that it happens to young men as well,
Absolutely.
and we don't talk about it. I mean, I had that experience when I was younger,
Right.
and so you don't get too many men willing to just say that I had an experience and talk about it, and so we become victimized. So I always say that that's a limit. Like, you don't, if you're in that situation, there's no really negotiation with that. Like, you
Right.
need to get out of that situation. You need to get secure, safe, do whatever you have to do to get away with from that. But I think it's a little different in this kind of day to day. We're trying to find a way to love each other and live with each other and deal with tough stuff that we're doing,
Right.
and we get to that point. So tell me, Aisha, give me a little bit about what your thoughts have been.
I
about it.
completely agree with what you just shared, because I mean that's a scary question, because it's so broad and so vague. You don't really know what the person's talking about. So I'm glad you mentioned all those things. I mean, that's helpful for me, because I had a hard time with that question,
Right.
not knowing the details.
Okay.
So the I think the thing that is true is that counseling helps the verbal piece a lot. I mean, you can stand a little bit firmer with the verbal piece. I think it's important to decide what your limitations are. What are you prepared to do for this person that you love? What are you prepared to do? Because trust and fear will steal it.
Right.
And so if you're afraid because you don't trust,
Right.
then you'll create things in your conscience that, oh, I'm not doing that. But you're not doing that just because you don't trust that person.
Okay.
If you trusted that person more, then perhaps you would be willing to do a little bit more.
Sure. Sure. I mean, I think that when we get up to that line, what I thought about was, we're all trying to do something for ourselves.
Yes.
But when you're in relationship, you have to get to a place, and I always tell people, are you in that place? Are you willing to deal with your own process and your
Right.
own self? Because it's so easy for us when we talk about how far should I go, or how long should I stay. They could be saying the same thing. How long should I go with you?
Right.
How long should I stay with you? So really, when you're in those situations, I always say that people have to get off of just looking at what they need and what they want. And they have to get to a place that they say, look, they have the same desires and issues that I have. So let me look at myself. And I always say, my saying is that if you change you, everything else around you will change. I mean, isn't that strange? Like, if you change your thoughts, if you change your feelings about things, if you change your behaviors around things, then it seems like it's like magic. The world around you begins to change and shift, right? So I think you have to start with you being willing to look at your own process, right?
Exactly.
And then I think when you get up to that place is that you have to be willing to not have to be right. Because if you feel like you have to be right, see, I coined this phrase, is it more important for you to be right, or is it more important for you to be in relationship?
Right.
Wow.
Right? So that happens even with God. Like, God, I want to be in relationship with you. I ain't trying to be right. I need you to minister to my heart and my soul. And I get many times when I'm trying to convince God about why he should do X, Y, and Z, or why this shouldn't have happened in my life. But really, I get to a point where I say, what's more important is my relationship, my trust, as you said, of my relationship with you. So people, a lot of times, are seeking to be right. And so if you're seeking to be right, you're going to be impatient in that process. And so you're going to be very quick to, step away, and you're going to be very quick to say, I'm ready to give up, or you're looking at that other person saying, you need to do X, Y, and Z. So I always tell people, let's flip it. Let's reverse it.
Right.
If you're saying in your heart, you need to do so and so and get this straight, then it should be a reflection to you that says, no, I need to do so and so. I need to respond a certain way.
Right.
And so that gives you a different, that flips the paradigm, where you're no longer believing that your energy is around trying to get that other person to do something.
Right.
You're really trying to get yourself to do something.
Wow. Yes.
And if you get yourself to do something, and you do it honestly before God, God will be faithful. He says, vengeance is mine, I will repay. God says, I am the person. He says that the heart of the king is like a channel in the hand of the Lord. He turns it any way that he chooses. So if you do what you're supposed to do, then God will go into the channel of that person's heart and he will begin to turn it. But as they turn, if you all crooked, bent, twisted, impatient, demanding, everything's matter of fact, everything's about that person and what they not doing, then when God turns them, then you have blocked the turn that God has done.
Wow.
I think it's the difference between a seat of authority and the victim seat. Because the victim seat's always going to point to the other person and say, look what they're doing and look how they're treating me and see. And, they're
Right.
always complaining and fussing about something.
Right.
The victim. But the place of authority is going to find the person's love spot, the place in them that is like God.
Right.
And hold fast to that. Because I always share that it is my task to treat you the way I would treat the Lord. I'm married to the Lord.
Wow.
That's who I'm married to. So the God in you is who I'm connected to.
Wow.
That's how we know each other, by the Spirit. I must find the God in you. And once I do, I am well able to manifest.
Yes.
I'm well able to manifest his love and
Right.
his purpose for me in this relationship with you.
Sure. Absolutely. Did you want to say something, Nate?
Yes, you touched on a lot of subjects. I will thank God, I thank my wife who's watching, for 7 years of marriage, August 15th. And one of the things that I'm learning to do is love myself because she's me.
That's
Wow.
Right. That's
The
right.
word
I like
of God
that.
tells us in Ephesians 5:22, it says, "The man should love his wife as his own flesh, but man hate of his own flesh."
Right.
So what I'm learning to do is love myself by loving her the way that I want to be loved.
There it is.
Yes.
And in doing so, I'm giving myself the best lesson that I possibly can.
Right.
Showing understanding, also being with her in the process and knowing who she is and being able to touch her in that place, which is God.
Right.
And in doing so, what I'm doing is I'm allowing God into our relationship to take over and take precedence. And it's about, after 7 years, learning each other.
Right.
Yes.
Learning each other, and especially that love language. If you don't know each other's love language, how can you love me properly
that's a
without
powerful
knowing
thing.
my love
That's a
language?
Love languages is very powerful. I encourage everybody, if you haven't done that, if you haven't learned the love language of your partner, it's a very excellent tool. So I know that what my wife's love language is, and hers is touch and quality time.
That's right.
So I understand that I got to know how to touch her. And we won't talk about the touch here on this show, but I have to be able to be in touch with the fact that that's important to her. And that's part of her love language and quality time. So I have to make sure I set aside. So that's why date night is very, very important to her. I think it's
Huge.
important to everybody. But I think it's extra important to her because that is what she equates as quality time. She feels loved when I saw somebody give us some love out there. So all my family that are out there, I see a lot of you have joined us in this. So we're talking about that line. How far do you go? So the Bible says when the disciples ask, how long should I forgive my brother? And Jesus said it's 70 times 7.
Yep.
So I know that sounds like a lot. So some of you trying to multiply, don't try to multiply. It doesn't matter. His point was, you really don't. It's not a point that you get to that you stop. That actually, I mean, the scripture that came to me was it was in and I need my glasses. Romans 5, and I'm in verse 3, and it says, "Not only this, but we glory in our tribulations also, knowing that tribulation works patience or endurance." So whenever we're in a tribulation, that's a place of being pressed, a place that feels like I want to give up. I don't understand what's going on with whatever's going on in my life. He says the next thing that you recognize is that tribulation is for a purpose. It's sent to you as a messenger for a purpose. So a lot of you who are going through things, and we all go through things, but it's how we interpret what we're going through.
Absolutely.
A lot of us look at it as, everything's against me, and people can get to a point that they get depressed, and depression comes on them because they're saying nothing's going right for me, nothing's happening the way I need to, and especially in a relationship, that can really happen. Like you just feel like you feel so down about it, but if you change your attitude, and if you say, this trial, this press, the fact that God sent this person in my life and they're pressing me to look at myself and look at what I'm doing. He says, what does that produce? It produces endurance. It produces patience. And if it produces those things, then God says, now you're on the right track. Because now you have reframed. Remember, we've talked, one of our skills is reframe. Reframe is to take something from one frame and take the frame off and put a new frame on it. So you got a picture, you take the frame off, you put a new frame on it. That's a reframe. That means you see that it's the same picture, but you have a different experience with it. One has an old, rugged, rickety frame, and you take that off, and all of a sudden you put this new modern, clean, nice looking frame, and it looks all brand new, and all of a sudden you see that picture different. The picture actually looks different. So you have to reframe your tribulations. You have to reframe them to a point that you are able to be patient, or be able to get to a place where patience will come. And of course, the Bible says, let patience have its perfect work.
Yes.
So you are perfect and lacking in no thing.
Yes.
Lacking in nothing. And so he says from tribulation, it works patience. And then he says, and patience comes endurance or character. The Bible really means proven character. So again, when you're in that tight space, you ask the question, I'm answering the question. When you get to that tight space and you feel like you're pressed, if you're making your decision to move out of that, out of fear, as Aisha said, out of frustration, out of, I'm just done. I'm just done with you. If it's out of any of those emotions, and you haven't first you need to identify that you have those feelings by saying one word, and you say, I feel frustrated, I feel hurt, right, you label it. But if you make the decision out of that, then you are making the wrong decision. If you make the decision out of the fact that you know that you're learning patience in this, and you are in tune with patience, if you're in tune with the fact that now you have more character, because that's what the next step was. It was, character, experience, and character, proven character. And then the next one says that from there you get hope. So after you have proven character, you have hope. So it's important when you're in those places to make sure that those are the things. So if you're in a situation, here's a direct answer to your question. If you don't have a revelation with God about hope, then you've missed some steps in the process.
Wow.
Right. You said a lot.
I know.
It's hard to identify what to share when you've said so much.
Yeah, I get it.
I believe that there are certain situations that a person can be in where they have a right to be afraid.
Sure.
So I understand that.
Well, we took those off the table from the beginning.
Right, but if you're not truly afraid for your safety, then you're building something inside yourself.
Right.
And that those imaginations can run away with you. Those imaginations can run away with you. And then you'll make decisions based on those imaginations.
Right.
And so it's important to calm yourself and speak from a place of hope.
Of hope, yes. So we'll take some more questions. Nate, we got questions coming through. You see some statements. Give me any comments. Give me some comments.
Each one, reach one, teach one, and that's from Bernadette Johnson.
Nice.
Bernadette is also saying no sound! Exclamation point.
No sound.
No sound.
Are you kidding me?
That's what she's saying.
Have we been talking this? Oh my goodness. We usually check in on the sound. Oh my goodness.
Ever since we've been using that thing, it's been...
No, it worked perfect the first time. Right. Can somebody give us... Can
you hear us?
Anybody else say about the sound?
First time watching. Awesome submission.
Okay, so some people have sound, some people don't. Okay. If anybody who's on there, our regular listeners, can you let us know?
Thank you, Mrs. Fields. You can hear us.
Is that okay? Good. So people tell us most of you can hear us. That's good. Okay. So now we're going to go into our program. We're going to record our normal program and show, and it's summertime, so it is so hot. So I try I try to look professional for as much as I could, but it is so hot. So we're going to now shift to our program. And most of you know, again, if you have questions, bring your questions in. We'll cover those. If not at the end of this program, we'll do it at the beginning of the next program. And I also want to encourage you, share us. Share this program. Share it with your friends and family. If you're getting something, please, please, please make sure that you pass on the word that you're getting something from this. Look, I'm looking at Facebook, and there's a lot of stuff that don't really mean a whole lot of anything that's on there. So this is a program, and somebody said, yes, that's true. So this is, you need to encourage something like this, which is really going to allow people to have an opportunity to interact and really get their questions answered. Somebody said something real?
Yes, they can now hear.
Oh, okay, great.
Some people had to hook up speakers, and
is it loud enough now? They're saying it's loud enough?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Good to go.
Okay, we're great. Okay, wow. I'm sorry we're going to get this technology down soon. Okay, so we're going to, Nate, if you want to start the...
Absolutely.
This is Advice for Life with Al Laws, CEO of Wynn Family Services, here in Baltimore, Maryland. Here on Advice for Life, we're discovering exciting ways to make our relationships better. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back to get into today's program.
Okay, so yeah, Greg, this has been great. We have been talking about, of course, as we always do, we talk about relationship, but we really talk about how men and women should show up in relationship. And last time as we left, we kind of broke it down and said that we were looking at how they should show up in the physical area, how they should show up in the emotional and mental area, and how they should be from a spiritual level. So each of those things we believe were very important for us to look at. So we really spent a lot of things around the physical, which we can finish up some of those things. I think there were some powerful things that came out of that. I remember what you said last week, which was, you said that people tend to, they don't show up in their relationships a lot of times the same when they're hunting. They show up different when they're hunting than when they're actually in the relationship. They believe that they can, and they somehow find the energy, the courage, the strength, the willpower to do things when they're outside or they're hunting for a relationship that they no longer do once they're in the relationship. And we talked about both of those.
And how unacceptable that is.
Yes, absolutely.
You can't hunt someone, and then when they see that you're hunting you is who you are, and they enjoy that, then become someone else. So that is unacceptable. So
right. So I'm really interested in continuing this dialogue about how men and women should show up in relationship. And look, I've really connected to another part of what you said, and you were talking about how you have your mindset about how you show up for me. And I've heard you say this before, and I want you to say some more. You would always talk about, would you marry you?
Oh, isn't that interesting? Because a lot of times we'll do and we'll say things that we don't want anyone to do or say to us. And I think it's important that if you don't want it to happen to you, don't do it.
Right.
Because the Lord says you will reap what you sow.
You will reap what you sow.
And it's important that I feel like I've done the very best I can for my husband, because I believe that God has trusted me with his son. And I need to respond as if I am grateful for his trust and yours as well.
So that's a key word, that word gratefulness.
Gratefulness. Because
gratefulness is a key in how you show up in relationship.
Exactly.
Because if I show up in the relationship with expectation, and that expectation is really clothed with what I want and what I need, then when I show up to that relationship with that expectation, of course that person is going to see. I mean, you're not hidden. It's not hidden that you have it clothed in what you want and what you need.
Right.
You think it's hidden, but it's not really hidden. And so what I always say is that you have to be aware that when you're showing up with this expectation, the other person can see. My wife has said this many times. I'm taking a lot of your words today.
I know, babe. That's all right.
She always says that we see each other more than we think.
Yeah, we see each other. We don't always say what we see.
Right.
We accept that everyone wears a mask, but we can see behind the mask because we're all spiritual beings.
Right.
We know each other more than we say.
Right. Absolutely. And so if you show up with that expectation in the relationship, and if that expectation at that point becomes unrealistic when you're not even clear what you want and what you need, and you're not able to verbalize it in a mature and effective way. So if I show up with my expectation wrapped in what I want and what I need, and I can't go through the awareness wheel, so I'm not aware myself, which the awareness wheel is, we first look at intentions, right? Mm-hmm. We look at thoughts, we look at feelings, we look at thoughts, and we look at behaviors. So when we show up and we're not in a process where we understand the awareness wheel, and those of you who are new to the program or haven't been listening, I encourage you to go back and listen to the podcast because we have an entire series that we've been doing on the awareness wheel. I'm going to do some more. I know a lot of my Facebook Live family, some of them that are coming in. I'm going to encourage you to go and listen to our programs about the awareness wheel, but I'm telling you, it will bless your life. It changes your perspective, because then if I'm the person showing up, right, with this expectation that I'm clothed in what I want and what I need, if I'm aware, at least I can be at the place to say, okay, what are my intentions in here? Wow. What are my intentions? What am I really trying to do for myself? Right? Mm-hmm. I can at least ask myself that question and be aware enough so I don't come up ignorant and acting like the person's already supposed to know, because they see through my little charade, and now I get mad because you don't understand what I want. You don't understand what I need. Sometimes you got to do what I need. I need something too. And you get in that way. Go ahead.
When you just shared, what are your intentions? It
Right.
just put me in the thought process of what a father asks a gentleman who's seeing his daughter.
Right.
What are your intentions?
What are your intentions? Yes.
So normally they'll come up with something very nice, like I intend to marry her,
right,
or I'm going to take care of her, sir. I'm going to be there for her.
Right.
I'm going to treat her a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Then you jump forward, and it's all about what she's supposed to do for him. That switch is unacceptable.
Right.
So that has to remain. You always have to remain in that place of gratefulness, because the reason why he's answering that father in that way,
right,
is because that father is saying, this is my gem.
Right.
Do you understand how much she's worth?
Right.
Do you
and what I'm willing
understand
to
her
do?
value? Do you understand her value?
Right.
And if he does not give the proper verbiage to understand how grateful he should be to even
Right.
be talking to her father
Right.
about her, then it's not going to work out.
It's not going to work out.
So that gratefulness needs to carry forward for the relationship to be successful.
Exactly. And so you have this person, and this happens on all sides. I'm putting it on the men right now. The man showing up with these things of what he wants and what he needs, doesn't realize that the person who God has sent to him can see him, mm-hmm. and see that, number one, he's not even clear about what his intentions are. He's not always clear about his thoughts. He may have some clarity, but they're a little rambling inside his head. But most of the time, most men avoid feelings. Mm-hmm. So they will not say their feelings. And I teach, and I give a whole teaching on my podcast, but I'm going to continually to remind people that if you want to get to the core, to the root of your feelings, you say one word. So I feel hurt. I feel disappointed. I feel unheard. So when you start saying a whole lot of words, when you hear a lot of words coming out of your mouth, that's your thoughts.
Yes. Right.
That's not your feelings. That means you're talking around your feelings. And it's so powerful when you're able to say what your feelings are. I'm telling you, it moves people to a whole nother level, to a whole nother depth. So here he is first trying to understand his own intentions because he sees the awareness wheel, and then he gets in touch with his own feelings, and he says, I feel uncared for, I feel unheard. Now, if he went to his wife or he went to his girlfriend or whatever and said to her, I feel unheard, okay, now that she sees through you, now it's making sense. Now she can connect to why you're cloaking yourself and hiding yourself in what you want and what you need. And at least you're in touch with your intentions around that. And when you give your feelings, is a very powerful connection. And then you can start talking about your feelings. I always tell people, don't say a lot of words first. Say your feeling first, and then say the words that follow from your feeling. So say one word that's a feeling word, and then talk. Because if you start talking, you're going to lose your feeling all through there. You ain't going to be able to figure out nothing about your feeling in
You'll
that.
be on to a different argument altogether.
Right. And so then you go into your behavior. So the great thing, and I like this exchange. We also have my brother Nate in the house here with us. Nate Nathaniel Fields. I want to hear what you got to say, brother.
Well, one of the things that you said, and you touched on it a little bit, the awareness wheel. Some of the time people get stuck in their process. So you will have people who will get stuck in their thoughts, their feelings, and they go straight to actions, not thinking about the outcomes.
Right.
And in doing so, they continue this process, skipping these important steps about awareness and not realizing that these steps will help them grow.
Right.
So now here they are. Now I'm upset and nobody's listening to me and I'm mad. So here you are in your feelings. Now guys, like you said before, Al, guys won't talk about those feelings. So they're going to skip that.
Right.
And they're going to go right to action.
Right.
And I'm not going to think about outcome.
Right.
So here they are in their thoughts and outcome.
Right.
Thoughts and outcome.
Right.
Thoughts, and then it's like,
Right.
okay, you're skipping all these very vital steps in your life.
Yes.
How can you change something if you don't change you?
Right.
If you don't change your process. So here we are again. Thoughts, feelings, intentions, which is good for self. Might not be good for somebody who's the recipient. Then you get to this action piece, and then here come the outcomes.
Right.
And people are missing all of these important pieces.
Right. So what happens is that you get stuck.
Yes.
So you get stuck in that process. That's why we call it an awareness wheel, because you can get stuck. So you find yourself, I always say, people know when they're repeating themselves. It's almost like, it's almost like deja vu. You find, oh, here I am. I'm back here again. Oh, this sounds familiar. Oh, that person said this to me in the last relationship. Oh, that sounds familiar. Oh, I'm back here again.
Yeah. I was going to say that a lot of times, like a car, when you're repairing the car and you put the wheels up on the block.
Right.
Pain is normally those blocks.
Wow.
Pain is those blocks. They're not going to allow you to go to the next position on the wheel because you're so stuck in that painful part of your life, of your existence, and something has caused you severe agony. And so you're going to not trust past this place.
Right.
But somehow you have to muster the energy to trust God enough to get past it.
You have to trust God enough to get past it. Look, we're going to talk some more. This is exciting conversation. We're going to talk about how you show up in relationship. We're going to look at it from all levels. We're going to look at it holistically, mind, emotion, body, spirit. And we're going to do a lot more of that when we come back on the way to church. Okay, so we just did our first half of our program. I know there was some slamming things going on. I'm glad everybody can hear me. I need my people that are with me to keep making sure we got good sound. So let me know. Make sure we have great sound, and hopefully you're sending in your questions. You're making comments. Nate, if you want to put your face in there and try to let us know what you're reading from people.
Absolutely. Tracy Collins, thank you for answering that question, but I will have to digest it all. That was a lot.
That was a lot.
A lot of good feedback.
Nice.
Black love matters.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. All love matters, but
thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Laws.
Oh, love. We got a lot of hearts going.
Absolutely.
I love that. That means you're loving the program. If you love it, share it. If you love it, share it. If you love it, pass it on. Tell people. If you love it, make sure you're with us on Tuesday evenings and try to get other people to join in. If you love us, bring us your questions. If you love us, I'm starting a new thing. I'm going to start doing interviews. I'm going to start doing counseling sessions where I'm going to record with people so all of us can begin to see people in their process and see how they process through their thoughts, their feelings, and correcting their behaviors in situations.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Anybody else?
It's called representative. When they were talking about the person who shows up in relationships.
Yeah, yes.
Be your authentic self, and if somebody even knows some skill, unrealistic expectations.
Right, I was about to get to that.
Yeah.
I was about to get to that part of it. Unrealistic expectations. I'll do that in the beginning of the next one. Look, how much time we're running out of time, right? On the Facebook Live, we should be close to our time.
We're getting there.
Yeah. So look, I want you to. We're gonna to go to our next program. We're gonna close this one out. What I want you to do is get excited while it's gonna take us probably a couple minutes to get reset, and we're gonna come back. And so hopefully you'll get notification. There should be a way for people to ask for notification at the bottom. Do you see that, Nate?
No, I don't see that.
Okay. So I'll make sure next time I bring some way to show you, to share with you how you can get notification. So just hang on. Probably within the next couple of minutes, 5 minutes, you'll see us. We'll come back. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to start the second half of the program. You don't want to miss it. There's going to be exciting things. And then what we're going to do at the end of that program is that we're going to start answering some of the questions that we've gotten here live in our Facebook Live chat session. And then we will answer those questions, and we're going to just dialogue, and that's a very powerful part. I actually like that part the best because we're kind of free, and it's not contained in the radio environment. So I love that, and I love the hearts. I love all that thumbs up. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for being supportive. Again, like us, share us, and we'll see you in about 5 minutes. God bless.